I'm working on a piece which is actually an acousmatic piece, an 8-channel piece, which means it's a multi-channel work. It's an immersive work, if you want, which is inspired by a poetry from a Japanese writer, Michiko Ishimure, which is a very important figure for Japan, which is mostly unknown in the Western world.
Hajime yori kotoba shirazarik.
I discovered her poetry through a small collection of Japanese poetry, which has been like published in Italy, and I was kind of really literally taken by her work. So her work is especially famous because she's from the south of Japan, from a place which is called Minamata, which is sadly the place that gave the name to the disease as well, the Minamata disease, which is mercury poisoning. So back then, when she was beginning her activity as a writer and a poet, she kind of gave voice through her work to the people who were suffering from this disease. And this poetry is one of the works that put those topics, which were kind of controversial back then, into account, like for the first time. So the work is inspired by that, and it's trying to take into account all those references that she does to sound throughout her whole work. There are very strong references to sound, as well as to the landscape and the soundscape, in a way, that exists around the words that she creates. So that's the reason why she's at the center of my work now. Yes, there is voice, and it's a Japanese voice. So I found some support in Paris by Bruni Ferrari and Yunia Murakami. They helped me to find a performer, someone who could read the text and to actually get to the right pronunciation for it. And yes, and I'm now working on with a very young female voice, which is very soft and sweet, and I'm pretty happy about that. It's one of the few vocal pieces that I've done. I work quite a lot with poetry, like I'm trying to find correspondences between sound work and poetry, and just occasionally I actually use voice. So this is one of the rare times in which I decided to put it at the center, of the piece.
Okay.
Because I don't understand everything. I mean, of course, I know the text from its Italian translation, but I don't know the precise correspondence of words, of sound and words. So there are a few words which I kind of consider important because I know what they mean, but generally speaking, it's really hard to follow the text by its meaning. And it's interesting to have it as pure sound, in a way. And at the same time, it's interesting to let it go as a plain, like, reading, instead of thinking about it as necessarily material that needs to be transformed, elaborated, like, in order to be part of a composition. No, it's actually like a proper reading, in a way.
Okay. お前は潮から来たものであるから、私の中に流れる音と一つとなり、遡れ。 梢に向かってそこで天の印を受けたら根元の分かれるところへゆっくり降りて地の底の川へ行くように海はその木の洞の中にあるのだからお前はもう船に乗っているも同じである。しかしながらそこへ行く道のしるべは右側の砂に混じる鳥たちの骨に尋ねよ。炎の中を舞いつつうずくまる生焼けの猫の耳に聞いてみるがよい。まだ生き絶えの仏たちが墓の中で泥の鈴をかき振るかすかな音を。
I've been working, with multi-channel like many times, and I used to work a bit in multi-channel when I was in Birmingham, because I had studios with multi-channel setups. But I must say that I usually prefer stereo. I usually prefer like two-channel works. I very much work with multi-channel when I work for theater. Because I consider it very useful in that case. But when it comes to music and to I think very much about also the opportunity people have to listen to it outside the concert zone, let's say. So I tend to prefer the stereo format. And when I use the multi-channel, I don't think about it necessarily as a sphere. I mean, I like to think about space as the space where the piece will be played, not as a space that I can build out of nothing in the studio. So I try to think about that in those terms instead of, like domes or 3D sound. Yeah.
Okay. Si tu dois décrire ton travail en, je sais pas, en quelques mots, genre 3 ou 5 mots, tu dirais quoi?
That's not that simple.
No.
I'd say I can just say that I try to build something through sound which is very similar with what we do with the landscape, and I try to keep that as also as a reference for the listening I kind of expect from people.
Ok, cool. Bon, merci.
Thank you. Merci.